Hello everybody and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, March 26, 2025. We'll be giving you all the first appearance hitting your comic shops today. Now this week we've got a pretty good lineup for you guys. I think we have 5 first appearances, 4 honorable mentions, so 9 titles all to go through. Definitely some books in there you guys should pick up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week, beginning March 28, 2025. First up from DC Comics, Absolute Martian Manhunter number 1. This features the first appearance of Absolute Martian Manhunter, aka Martian Mindhunter. Now we mention this all the time with this Absolute series. Anytime there's the first appearance of a new character or the premiere issue of a new Absolute title, these are books you definitely want to have in your collection. This Absolute series from DC Comics, incredibly popular with fans and collectors. These first appearances do really well in the secondary market, and these premiere issues, these are books you definitely want to have in your collection at the cover price. So this one here, one we do think you should definitely pick up for your collection, go ahead and grab this one. Next up from DC Comics, Absolute Wonder Woman number 6. This features the first appearance of Hades into the Absolute Universe. Now, the Absolute Wonder Woman title series, hugely popular with fans and collectors. Issues number 1 and 2, and I think even 3, are doing incredibly well in the secondary market. Issues number 1 and 2 I know went back for multiple printings. Like I said, this Absolute title series, anytime they introduce a new character, or they have a premiere issue, or anytime they have a new costume change, or a new superpower introduced, these are books you definitely want to have in your collection at the cover price. You know, for $3 or $4, if these things go big, you're sitting on a huge winner here. If they go nowhere, you're probably still going to be able to get your $3 or $4 out of these books later on. So in our opinion, the risk on these is definitely worth the reward. Another one we do think you should pick up for your collection, go ahead and grab this one. Next up from DC Comics, Batman number 158. This features the first appearance of Silence, an ally of Hush. This here is also the sequel to Batman Hush from 2002. This here has been a highly anticipated issue. Just being the sequel to Batman Hush, that was an incredibly popular story arc. Very highly collected. You know, collectors and fans love that story. And the fact that this here also features the first appearance of a new character, this one here has a lot going for it. You don't want to miss out on this one. At the cover price, this is one you definitely should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up for Marvel Comics, Amazing Spider-Man number 70. This features the first appearance of Spider-Naut, a Spider-Man Juggernaut mashup. There was a potential tease in issue number 69. Now, like we always mention with Amazing Spider-Man titles, anytime they introduce a new character into the Spider-Man universe, these are books you definitely want to own. And you know, Marvel titles alone, you know, Marvel Disney is still churning out a ton of media for the small screen and big screen, so anytime they introduce a new character into the Marvel universe, and especially into the Spider-Man universe, these are books you definitely want to have in your collection. You know, you don't want to chase these down years later for a lot more money. You know, you really don't know what plans Marvel Disney has for this new Spider-Naut character. They may have none, they might go nowhere, but for $3 or $4, definitely worth the risk on this. Like we mentioned before, even if this book goes nowhere, you'll probably still be able to get your $3 or $4 out of this in the future. So there's very limited downside risk and a lot of upside potential. Another one we do think you should pick up for your collection, go ahead and grab this one. And finally from Marvel Comics, Uncanny X-Men number 12. This features the first appearance of the VIG, an unstoppable force pursuing Gambit to collect a debt. Now that Marvel Disney had the cinematic rights to X-Men, there was definitely going to be a lot more small screen and big screen projects for the X-Men coming up here in the future. And with that being said, you really don't know where Marvel Disney are going to be searching for new characters to hit the screen. Marvel seems to be pulling from a lot of modern comics lately, so if they actually pull this VIG character here from this particular issue, this character hits the screen, a lot of fans and collectors are going to race back to the comic and try to find the first appearance. And like I always mention to you guys, typically always worth picking up the first appearance of new characters in Marvel titles. And like I said, now that Marvel has the cinematic rights to X-Men again, you know, it definitely adds a little more power to this issue. So this one here, another one we do think you should pick up for your collection, go ahead and grab this one. And now for the honorable mentions. From Marvel Comics, Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four number 1. In this issue, King Ghidorah becomes a Herald of Galactus. Now the main reason we put this here on the list is because this Godzilla vs. series has been getting a lot of attention. A lot of fans and collectors have been pre-ordering issues of this particular series. Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four is the premiere issue of this series. There's also Godzilla vs. the Hulk, that is the next one in this series. Both those books have been getting a lot of attention in pre-sales, getting a lot of attention from fans and collectors. So the reason we put this on the list is not necessarily because King Ghidorah becomes a Herald of Galactus, but it's because this here is the premiere issue of this new Godzilla vs. series. Like I said, very popular with fans and collectors. And for the cover price, we do think this is probably worth picking up. Now this here is definitely going to be a little more speculative because you are specking on this title having some interest in the future. But you know, some of these bizarre mashups here with Godzilla and Fantastic Four, upcoming Godzilla and the Hulk, those unconventional mashups, you know, they do have a lot of fans and collectors that like those particular issues. So this one here is going to be speculative, but in our opinion, it's still worth picking up. grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from DC Comics, Harley Quinn Fartacular Silent But Deadly #1. Now this here is another one of those rub and smell or the scratch and sniff issues from DC Comics featuring Harley Quinn. They've been doing these over the past 10 years or so. There's been a lot of these scratch and sniff issues with Harley Quinn. I think the first one they did was a cannabis-scented cover, and that one actually was very collectible because it wasn't available outside the US. This one here is a Fartacular Silent But Deadly. Don't really know what this particular book is going to smell like when you scratch it. You might not want to sniff it, but these issues are collectible. There is a fan base for these particular issues, these scratch and sniff issues. So this one here, we put this on the list just for that reason. There is a fan base for these. It's not incredibly huge. We don't really know if there's going to be a market for this in the future, but this one here, definitely speculative, just a humorous book to own. So if you want, grab this here for a spec. Otherwise, you can skip on this one. Next up from Image Comics, Universal Monsters The Mummy #1. When unknown voices bring her back to an Egyptian dig site from her past, an archaeologist will unknowingly play an unexpected role in the rise of a monster known only as the Mummy. We put this on the list because this Universal Monster series is incredibly popular with fans and collectors. There's a huge fan base for this series, and these premiere issues, incredibly popular. So this is another one we do think you should definitely pick up for your collection at the cover price. You definitely don't want to chase these down years later for a lot more money, and like I said, very popular. Go ahead and grab this one. And finally from Dynamite Entertainment, Vampirella #1. We put this on the list because this here is the premiere issue of this series. I believe this here is volume 6. Now, Vampirella has been getting a lot of attention recently, this particular issue specifically. There's been a lot of variant covers that have been trading very high in the secondary market. I don't really know about cover A here, but typically when variants are trading very high, they also pull out the main cover or cover A of that series. And like I said, this particular run of this particular title series seems like it's getting a lot more attention than some of the previous. So there might be something going on here with this particular title series this time. Like I said, this here is volume 6, so there had been 5 volumes preceding this. But this particular run, like I said, been a lot of attention on this title series. Now this one here is definitely going to be speculative because Vampirella definitely has a small or a niche collector base, so this here is not going to have a great or wide appeal. But like I said, it feels like there's something going on with this particular reissue of this series because there has been a lot more attention than usual when they relaunched the Vampirella title. So this one here, definitely speculative, maybe worth picking up for a spec though. Grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. So there you have the 9 titles we have for you guys this week. There's definitely some books in there you guys should pick up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.